The war was over, or at least everyone thought so. The battlefield in space was silent now. Black smoke drifted between the broken remains of alien ships. Some pieces still burned as they floated, glowing red like dying stars. It was hard to believe that only hours ago this place had been alive with fire, screams, and weapons that shook entire planets. In the middle of this destruction, among the twisted metal and drifting bodies, a small rescue team moved carefully. They were looking for survivors, or at least something worth saving. One soldier, Sergeant Lee, spotted it first. A single hand, not a normal hand. It shone silver even in the dark, smooth and perfect, almost beautiful. Thin blue lights pulsed under the surface like veins of energy. The fingers were long and shaped like something between a blade and a jewel. It didn't belong to any human or any alien species Lee had seen before. He picked it up carefully. The moment his glove touched it, the hand twitched. Lee almost dropped it. "It's alive," he whispered. The team brought it back to Earth, to a secret underground lab where the government kept its most dangerous finds. The scientists were shocked. They ran tests for days. This wasn't just alien technology. It was half living, half machine, something far beyond human science. And inside its cells, they found memories. Not clear pictures, but flashes, like someone's life trapped in the nerves of this hand. A girl's voice crying. A battlefield. A crown made of silver flames. Royalty. One scientist muttered. This belonged to someone important. Maybe very important. The military made a quick decision. Rebuild the body. If this was royal alien tech, they wanted answers. And they wanted them fast. So the project began. Machines worked day and night. Artificial organs were grown. Silver bones were forged. A new heart was made from a mix of human and alien biotech. Skin slowly covered the frame, pale but faintly glowing under certain lights. Bit by bit, a girl began to appear where only a hand had been. The soldiers called her the weapon. The scientists called her the experiment. But one man, the janitor who cleaned the lab at night, simply called her the girl. His name was Tom. He was not a soldier, not a scientist, just a tired man with gray hair, a bad knee, and a mop. He saw her every night when the lab was quiet, lying inside a glass chamber while machines hummed around her. To him, she didn't look like a weapon or a secret project. She looked lost. One night, as rain hammered the surface far above the lab, Tom stopped his work and stood near the glass. The girl's face was almost complete now. Her silver-white hair spread across the pillow like frozen moonlight. She looked peaceful, almost human, but the faint blue glow under her skin reminded him she wasn't. He spoke softly, even though he knew she couldn't hear. "Whoever you were, I hope they don't turn you into something you're not." Tom didn't know the generals were already arguing about what to do when she woke up. Some wanted to use her for war. Some wanted to keep her locked up forever. But then, everything changed. On the 21st night, the storm outside grew wild. Thunder rolled like angry giants. Lightning struck the hills above the lab. And inside the glass chamber, the girl's fingers moved. Just a small twitch at first. Then her head shifted. Tom froze, mop in hand. Her eyes opened. Silver. Bright and sharp like a blade, but filled with confusion. She looked around wildly as alarms began to blare. Soldiers rushed in. Scientists shouted orders. But she didn't look at them. The first face she saw was Tom's, the simple janitor standing there, eyes wide, frozen in shock. For one strange moment, everything went silent. The girl stared at him through the glass. Their eyes locked. Then she whispered something. It was so soft no one else heard it. "Help!" Tom felt his chest tighten. She wasn't a weapon. She wasn't a project. She was someone afraid. The soldiers raised their guns. Scientists yelled to sedate her. Red lights flashed. The girl pressed her hand against the glass, eyes begging. And Tom, the man who had nothing to do with wars or kings or alien secrets, dropped his mop, because in that single moment, he knew everything was about to change. Forever. The storm outside roared like a wild animal, but deep under the ground, in the secret lab, something even more powerful had awakened. The alien girl's eyes were open now, silver and glowing faintly, They moved slowly across the room. Soldiers pointed guns at her. Scientists shouted orders, some frightened, some excited. Red lights flashed on the walls, turning everything into chaos. But she didn't look at them. She kept looking at the janitor. Tom stood frozen near the door, holding his mop like it was a weapon. He had no idea what to do. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a hero. He was just the man who cleaned the floors. But she didn't care about the generals or the doctors. She kept staring at him. The girl's lips moved again. Tom could read the word even though the alarms drowned her voice. Help! The soldiers didn't wait. Open the chamber. One of the generals barked. But the scientists hesitated. We don't know if she's stable. Her body is still adapting. She could be dangerous. She is an alien. Another soldier snapped. And you want to just let her sit there? One of the scientists typed commands into a panel. The glass door slid open with a hiss. The girl sat up slowly. The room went silent. Her silver hair fell around her shoulders. Her skin looked almost human, except for the faint blue lines glowing under it, like rivers of light. She was wearing a simple hospital gown, but there was something royal in the way she held herself, even though she had just been born again. Tom felt like the air had grown heavy. She looked fragile, but there was power in her eyes. The soldiers raised their weapons as she stepped out of the chamber. Her bare feet touched the cold floor. One soldier moved forward with handcuffs. Restrain her before. The girl's hand shot up. Not fast. Not threatening. Just a warning. A faint pulse of blue energy moved through the air, crackling like tiny lightning bolts. The soldier stopped instantly, his body stiff, his face pale. The girl tilted her head. Her expression was strange calm, almost sad. Tom could see it clearly. She didn't want to hurt anyone, but she would, if they pushed her. The general frowned. Sedate her. Now. One of the scientists shook his head. No. We still don't understand her nervous system. A sedative could kill her. The soldiers didn't care. They moved in anyway. And for the first time, the girl looked afraid. She backed away slowly, her glowing eyes darting from the guns to the janitor. Tom felt his chest tighten. He didn't know why, but he knew she trusted him. Maybe because he was the only one who had ever looked at her like she was a person, not a thing. Don't hurt her, Tom said, his voice shaking. The soldiers ignored him. One fired a stun shot. The blue dart flew toward her chest. Time slowed. The girl raised her hand. The dart stopped in midair, frozen as if the laws of physics had bent around her. Then, with a flick of her wrist, it clattered to the floor. The soldiers froze. So did Tom. No one spoke. The girl didn't attack. She just looked at Tom again, her eyes softer now. Please, she whispered. It was the first real word she had spoken clearly since waking up. Tom swallowed hard. Please what? She opened her mouth, but then alarms blared louder. A voice crackled over the speakers. Unidentified ships entering Earth's orbit. Possible hostile fleet. Everyone in the lab turned to look at the monitors. Alien ships. Hundreds of them. The general's face turned pale. They're here. For her. The girl closed her eyes like she already knew this. And then Tom understood. She wasn't just any alien. She was important. Important enough for an entire army to come after her. The general shouted orders. Soldiers ran to defensive positions. Scientists panicked. But the girl? She just stood there in the middle of the chaos, calm but sad, as if she had seen all this before. Tom's heart pounded. He didn't know what was happening, but he knew one thing for sure. The war wasn't over. It was only beginning. And somehow, he, a simple janitor, was now standing at the center of it. The alien ships in Earth's orbit sent fear racing through every corner of the underground lab. Soldiers ran through the halls, preparing weapons. Scientists shouted orders, faces pale. Alarms screamed like angry birds, echoing in the metal walls. But in the center of all this chaos stood the alien girl, silent, calm, her silver eyes glowing faintly as if she already knew what was coming. Tom, the janitor, couldn't stop staring at her. He had spent his life cleaning floors, fixing broken lights, eating alone in a small apartment. He had never been important. But now this girl, this strange, powerful girl, kept looking at him like he was the only person she trusted. And that scared him more than the alien fleet above Earth. The general stormed into the lab, his face red with anger. "We need answers," he barked at the scientists. "What is she? Why are they here for her?" One of the scientists, a thin man with shaking hands, spoke up. "Sir, we ran more tests on her blood." Tom noticed the man was trembling. That was never a good sign. The scientist swallowed hard before continuing. "Her DNA is unlike anything we've seen. It carries not just biological code, but information, history, memories, even authority." "Authority?" the general growled. The scientist nodded. "Yes, sir. Her blood carries royal markers, genetic keys used by the alien empire to recognize their rulers." Tom felt his chest tighten. "Royal?" The scientist's voice dropped to a whisper. "She isn't just anyone. She is a princess of the Vayari Dominion. Maybe the last one alive." The general stared at the girl like she was a bomb about to explode. "So those ships, they're here to take her back," the scientist said. "Or to kill her before someone else claims her." The room went silent. Tom looked at the girl. She was staring at the floor now, her hands trembling slightly. She understood. She wasn't just a girl pulled from a war. She was the reason for it. The general stepped closer to her. "Listen to me," he said, his voice hard. "You will stay here under our control until we decide what to do with you. You belong to Earth now." Her head snapped up. For the first time since she had woken, anger flashed in her silver eyes. She spoke slowly, clearly, in English that sounded strange but sharp. "I belong to no one." The soldiers raised their weapons instantly. Tom stepped forward before he even thought about it. "Wait, she hasn't hurt anyone. She could bring a whole war down on us," the general shouted. "We can't let her leave." The girl's eyes moved to Tom, and for the first time, he saw fear there. Not fear of soldiers, not fear of death, fear of being locked up, caged, used. Tom felt something twist in his chest. She had just been rebuilt from a single hand, reborn into a world that wanted to chain her before she even understood it. The general gave the order. "Take her to the holding wing." Two soldiers moved forward with restraints. The girl stepped back, shaking her head. "No." One soldier grabbed her arm. It was a mistake. The lights flickered. A pulse of blue energy burst from her skin, throwing the soldiers backward like ragdolls. She didn't kill them. She didn't even hit anyone else. It was just a warning. But the soldiers panicked, raising their rifles. Tom shouted, "Stop! She's scared." Nobody listened. The girl looked around wildly. Guns, soldiers, scientists yelling, the general barking orders. Her glowing eyes found Tom again. "Help me," she whispered. And Tom, simple, ordinary Tom, realized something in that moment. The soldiers didn't care who she was. The generals only cared about power. The aliens above only cared about control. Nobody cared about her. But he did. He didn't know why. Maybe because she looked so young. Maybe because she had been alone for too long. Maybe because she was looking at him like he was the only person left in the world who could save her. The general shouted again, "Restrain her now." The soldiers moved in. Tom stepped in front of them. "Move aside, janitor," one soldier snapped. Tom didn't move. The girl stared at him, her eyes wide, hopeful. And in that second, Tom made a choice he never thought he would make in his life. He was going to help her escape, even if it meant fighting his own people. The order to restrain the alien girl echoed through the underground lab like a death sentence. Soldiers closed in from all sides, rifles raised, boots pounding on the metal floor. The alien girl stood in the center, her silver eyes glowing faintly under the red flashing lights. She looked calm on the outside, but Tom, the janitor, could see the fear behind her gaze. Fear of being locked up. Fear of losing the little freedom she had just tasted. And maybe fear that she would never see her people again. Tom's heart pounded. He had spent his whole life avoiding trouble. He was the man who mopped floors, fixed light bulbs, and stayed out of the way. But tonight, trouble had found him. And it wore the face of a girl who looked at him like he was the only person she could trust. The soldiers moved closer. "Stay back," one of them shouted. "On your knees, alien." The girl didn't move. Tom stepped between her and the soldiers before he even thought about it. His hands were shaking. "Wait," he said, his voice trembling. "She hasn't hurt anyone. Just let her talk." "She's a threat," the general barked. "Move aside, janitor. This isn't your business." Tom didn't move. The soldiers aimed their guns at the girl. She slowly raised her hands, blue light flickering across her skin like tiny bolts of lightning. The soldiers froze, unsure if she was about to attack. But she didn't. Instead, she whispered to Tom, "Help me, please." Tom swallowed hard. He didn't know how, but he knew one thing. He couldn't let them take her. "Listen to me," the general snapped. "If she escapes, Earth will pay the price. We can't risk it." Tom turned to the girl. "If I help you, can you control your powers?" She nodded quickly. "Then follow me," Tom said. Before the soldiers could react, Tom grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall and slammed it into the nearest alarm panel. The lights went out. The lab fell into darkness. "Find them," the general roared. But it was too late. Tom grabbed the girl's hand. "This way." She followed him without hesitation, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the dark halls as they ran. Behind them, soldiers shouted orders. Boots pounded on metal floors. Tom knew the lab better than anyone. He had cleaned every hallway, every storage room, every forgotten corner. And he knew the fastest way out. They ran through the research wing, past tanks filled with strange alien specimens floating in blue liquid. The girl glanced at them but kept running. Alarms screamed. Metal doors slammed shut one by one as the security system activated. "They're locking the exits," Tom muttered. "We need another way out." The girl suddenly stopped. "What are you doing?" Tom hissed. She raised her hand. Blue energy crackled around her fingers. One of the locked doors sparked, then slid open with a hiss. Tom stared. "Remind me not to make you angry." She almost smiled. Almost. But then voices echoed behind them. They went this way. The soldiers were close. Tom and the girl ran faster, their footsteps clanging through the metal corridors. They reached the storage bay where supply trucks delivered food and equipment. A massive door led to the outside world, but it was locked tight. Tom cursed under his breath. "We're trapped." The girl stepped forward. Her silver eyes glowed brighter. She placed both hands on the door. Blue lines of energy crawled across the metal like veins of fire. With a deafening crack, the door blew off its hinges. Fresh night air rushed in. But before they could escape, gunfire exploded behind them. Bullets sparked against the walls. Soldiers poured into the storage bay, shouting orders. The girl raised her hands, and a shimmering blue shield of energy appeared in front of them. Bullets hit it and fell to the floor, useless. Tom's mouth fell open. "Okay, that's new." The girl looked at him. "Run." They sprinted through the broken door into the stormy night. Rain poured down in sheets, lightning flashing across the sky. The soldiers followed, but the girl turned, her eyes blazing. A wave of blue energy shot from her hands, knocking the soldiers off their feet. She didn't hurt them. She only stopped them. For now. Tom grabbed her arm. "Come on. They'll be back." Through the rain, he saw the dark outline of the forest beyond the base. It wasn't much of a plan, but it was the only one they had. Together, they ran into the trees as alarms wailed behind them, the storm swallowing their footsteps. The girl didn't look back, but Tom did, and he knew this was only the beginning, because sooner or later, the whole world would come hunting for them. The rain poured down like the sky itself was crying. Tom and the alien girl ran through the forest, their footsteps sinking into the wet ground. Lightning flashed above them, turning the trees into black skeletons for a split second before darkness returned. Behind them, the alarms from the military base were still wailing. Soldiers were out there somewhere, hunting them. Drones buzzed in the distance like angry insects. But the girl didn't stop. Neither did Tom. He was tired, his legs burning, his chest aching, but he kept running because every time he looked at her, this strange, glowing girl who had been built from just a hand, he knew she was depending on him. And for some reason, that mattered more than anything else. They reached an old, abandoned cabin deep in the woods. The roof sagged, the windows were broken, and the door barely hung on its hinges. But it was shelter. Tom pushed the door open. Inside. Quick. The girl stepped in silently, her silver hair sticking to her face from the rain. Her glowing eyes scanned the dark room like she expected soldiers to burst in any second. Tom found an old lantern on the table. It still worked. The soft yellow light filled the room, pushing the darkness back. The girl sat on the floor, knees pulled to her chest, silent. Tom handed her a blanket he found in a dusty corner. Here. You're shaking. She looked at the blanket like she didn't understand it at first. Then she wrapped it around herself slowly. Tom sat down across from her. His hands were still shaking. He couldn't believe what had happened in the last few hours. Yesterday he was cleaning floors. Today he was on the run with an alien princess while half the military chased them. Why are they after you? Tom finally asked. The girl looked at him for a long time before speaking. Her voice was soft, strange, but clear. My people, they want control, she said. I was supposed to lead them one day, but others wanted power. So they tried to kill me. Tom frowned. So that's why your ship crashed? She nodded. They thought I was dead. But now they know I live. They will come. Tom rubbed his face. Great. Just great. The girl's eyes softened. You did not have to help me. But you did. Tom shrugged awkwardly. Yeah? Well, I'm not good at watching people get locked up. Or shot. She tilted her head. You risked your life. For me. Tom didn't answer. He didn't have one. But then the sound came. The sharp whir of drone wings. Tom jumped to his feet and ran to the window. Red lights moved through the trees. The soldiers had found them. The girl stood, her blanket falling to the floor. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. Go, she said. They want me, not you. Tom turned on her, angry. Forget it. I'm not leaving you. The first soldier appeared in the doorway, rifle raised. Tom didn't think. He moved without a plan, without a weapon, without any sense at all. He stepped in front of her. The soldier shouted, Move, now. Tom didn't move. She's not a threat, he yelled. The soldier raised his gun higher. Last warning. Tom's heart pounded. The girl stood behind him, silent, watching. And then the shot came. But it wasn't bullets. It was a stun dart. It hit Tom in the shoulder. He staggered, pain shooting through him. The girl gasped, catching him as he fell to one knee. Something inside her snapped. Her silver eyes blazed. Blue light exploded from her hands, knocking the soldiers backward like leaves in a storm. The drones crashed to the ground, sparks flying. The girl knelt beside Tom, her voice shaking. Why did you do that? Tom groaned, half smiling through the pain. Because someone had to stand between you and them. She looked at him like she didn't understand. Like nobody had ever done that for her before. More soldiers were coming. The girl stood slowly, her hair glowing faintly, rain dripping from her face. And this time, she didn't look afraid. She looked angry, very angry. The rain came down harder, drumming on the roof of the old cabin. Thunder rolled like angry giants across the sky. Tom sat on the floor, leaning against the wall, his shoulder burning from the stun dart. He was pale, breathing heavily, but alive. The alien girl knelt beside him, her silver eyes full of worry. Her fingers hovered over the wound but didn't touch it. Blue light flickered faintly under her skin, like something was waiting there. Something she hadn't fully released yet. Outside, soldiers shouted orders. Boots splashed through the mud. Drones circled overhead, their red lights cutting through the rain. They were surrounded. The girl looked at Tom. You cannot fight them. Not like this. Tom gritted his teeth. I didn't plan to fight anyone. I just didn't want them to take you. Her expression softened, just for a moment. Then she stood slowly, turning toward the door. She was shaking, but it wasn't fear this time. It was something else. Something deeper. The soldiers came through the trees like shadows with guns. Their rifles glinted in the flashes of lightning. The general's voice boomed through a loudspeaker. Alien girl, surrender now, or we open fire. She didn't answer. Tom forced himself up, leaning against the wall. "Don't listen to them," he said. "They don't care if you live. They just want to control you." She turned her head slightly, eyes glowing brighter. "I know." And then, something inside her broke open. The blue light under her skin spread across her arms, her neck, her face, like rivers of fire coming alive. Her silver hair floated slightly as if the air itself bent around her. The soldiers stepped back nervously. The general shouted, "Shoot if she moves." But before they could, she raised both hands. The night exploded. A wave of energy burst outward, knocking soldiers off their feet. Drones crashed from the sky like dying birds. Trees bent under the force before snapping back, leaves flying like shrapnel. Tom shielded his face as the cabin windows shattered. When the light faded, the soldiers lay groaning in the mud. Their guns were broken, electronics fried. The girl stood in the doorway, glowing like a living storm. Her eyes blazed brighter than lightning itself. Tom stared at her, speechless. She had held back before. He realized that now. Everything she had done until this moment, stopping bullets, opening doors, shielding them, had been a fraction of what she could really do. This was her true power. The general stumbled to his feet, his uniform soaked with rain. He raised a pistol with trembling hands. You're a weapon," he spat. "A monster." The girl turned her head slowly, looking at him. "I am not your weapon," she said softly. And with a flick of her hand, the pistol tore itself apart, pieces falling to the ground like dead leaves. The soldiers froze. None of them dared to move now. The girl stepped out into the rain. Her voice was calm but carried through the storm. "Go back," she said. "Tell your leaders to leave me alone." The general's face twisted with rage. "And if we don't?" The ground cracked under her feet as blue energy sparked across the earth. "Then," she said coldly, "you will see what I really am." The soldiers looked at each other nervously. They had come to capture a girl. Now they realized they were standing before a queen. Tom limped toward her, holding his shoulder. "We need to go," he said softly. "They'll bring more." She looked at him then, and for the first time since she had awakened, her eyes softened. "You helped me," she said, "even when you were afraid." Tom managed a weak smile. "Yeah, I'm starting to regret that a little." She almost smiled back. Almost. Then she turned toward the dark forest. Somewhere beyond the trees, the alien fleet still waited in the skies. She could feel them. They wanted her dead or under their control. But now, things had changed. She wasn't the weak, frightened girl who had woken in a lab. She wasn't a weapon for humans or a prize for aliens. She was something else entirely. Something they should fear. And for the first time, Tom realized the truth. This wasn't the story of a janitor helping an alien girl. This was the beginning of a war that could change the entire galaxy. The rain had stopped by morning. The forest was silent except for the sound of broken branches and the distant hum of alien ships in the sky. Smoke rose from the destroyed drones scattered across the ground. Soldiers who had survived the night limped away, too shaken to fight again. And in the middle of the clearing stood the alien girl. Her silver eyes glowed softly in the early light, her silver white hair clinging to her face. The power that had burst from her the night before now rested quietly under her skin, like a sleeping storm waiting to be called again. Tom sat on a fallen tree, his shoulder bandaged with strips of old cloth. He still felt like he was living someone else's life. Yesterday he was just a janitor. Today he was standing next to the most powerful being he had ever seen. The girl walked over to him, silent as a shadow. "You should leave," she said softly. Tom frowned. "And let you deal with all this alone? Not happening." She looked down at him, her expression unreadable. "You helped me when no one else did. But now, the galaxy will come for me. For us." Tom gave a tired laugh. "Yeah? Well, I was never good at running away." For a moment, something like respect flickered in her eyes. But then a sound rolled through the air. A low, vibrating hum. Tom looked up. The clouds above parted as a massive alien ship descended slowly, its surface shining with silver light. It was larger than any human craft he had ever seen. The air itself trembled as it hovered over the clearing. The girl straightened. They're here. Tom stood slowly, his hand tightening on the stick he was using as a crutch. Friend or enemy? She didn't answer. A beam of light shot down from the ship, hitting the ground in front of them. A tall figure stepped out of the light, wearing armor that glowed faintly like hers. The soldiers who had been watching from the trees froze. The figure removed its helmet. It was an alien, tall and elegant, with silver lines running across its face like marks of royalty. Its eyes were the same glowing silver as the girl's. The alien bowed slightly. "Princess," he said in a deep, calm voice. "We thought you were dead." The girl didn't move. "Many wanted me dead." The alien's gaze swept across the clearing. The destroyed drones, the broken soldiers, the terrified humans hiding behind trees. Finally, his eyes stopped on Tom. "And this human?" The girl looked at Tom. For a moment she said nothing. Then, clearly, firmly, she said, "He saved me. He stays." The alien studied Tom again, his expression unreadable, then nodded. The soldiers hiding in the trees raised their weapons nervously, but none of them fired. They knew one wrong move could turn the entire forest to ash. The alien turned back to the girl. "Your enemies know you live. They will come. All of them." "I know," she said. "Then you must return," the alien said. "The throne is empty. Without you, the Dominion will fall into war." Tom blinked. Throne? Dominion? He realized suddenly that the girl standing next to him wasn't just important. She was a queen in waiting. The girl looked at him once more. "Will you come with me?" she asked softly. Tom hesitated. He was a janitor. A man with no family, no medals, no future beyond cleaning floors. He had no place on a throne or in a war among the stars. But when he looked at her, the girl who had been hunted, chained, reborn from a single hand, and still stood tall against armies, he knew his answer. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I'm with you." The alien leader nodded once. "Then come. We leave before the enemy arrives." The beam of light brightened. The girl stepped into it first. Tom followed, limping but steady. As the light lifted them toward the waiting ship, the soldiers on the ground watched in silence. None of them fired. None of them spoke, because deep down, they knew the world had just changed forever. Above the clouds, the alien fleet waited, and somewhere beyond the stars, enemies were gathering, preparing for war. But for now, there was peace. For now, a girl who had been nothing more than a single hand only days ago stood ready to claim her destiny. And beside her was a simple human janitor who had risked everything to protect her. The galaxy would remember them both.